Okay, there I am. Can everybody hear me? Sayun, if you can hear me, just text. Okay, great. Ken says he can hear me. So unless somebody tells me they can't hear me, I'll assume that you can. Okay, I've uploaded a presentation which I hope you can see the first page of on the screen now for chapter 1 of Understanding Media and Culture. I have a few videos that I want you to view during the class. I haven't been able to upload them to the system. I'm not sure if I'm having bandwidth problems on my end or what, but what I would like you to do before I start the lecture is to start the downloads of material. Let's see. So, I guess the best way to do that, whoops, sorry. I'm just getting the hang of this system, so I have to apologize. There we go. Okay, I'm going to scroll through pages of the presentation until I get to the page I need, the first page. Here we go. The first link you'll need is on page 5. This is actually the largest video, so this is the one that you should please start to download now. Don't watch it yet, but start it downloading in the background. The link is on page 5 of the presentation. Yeah, Ken, they are available on YouTube. Is it easier to get it through YouTube than through the TED Talks? The reason I put the TED Talks link up is that the TED Talks link allows us to download with subtitles, which is sometimes an issue for people. But I can give you a link on YouTube as well. Just a second. Okay, I wasn't sure if there would be a bandwidth problem. Maybe in Korea they have much better bandwidth than we have in Almaty, but when I show them in Almaty, I always download them in advance. No, we don't need to watch them right now. I'll start the lecture. We'll watch them in a few minutes. I'll give you another link in a moment. Well, okay. Just download that one right now, and we'll do the other links as we come to them. And I'll start my presentation now. Okay, first a show of hands. Yes, right. First a show of hands. Sound is small, louder please. Okay, let's test the sound. Is this better? How's that for microphone volume? Okay, let me know if the volume isn't loud enough, and I'll just start now. Okay, first a show of hands. Please just text me, send a chat. How many of you have had a chance to read all the way through chapter 1? Long time to get any response. Okay, I'm going to start with a discussion question. I've asked Se-Yoon to help to manage the discussion on the other end. Our chapter starts with a story of a stolen cell phone. The story is about a girl who loses her cell phone. Another girl finds it, takes it, decides to use it, to keep it. Using the technology that's available to her, the girl who had her cell phone stolen and a friend of hers are able to track down the person who took it, find out who she is, discover information about her, and start to contact her, ask her to return the cell phone. I'd like you to think, having read through this example, I'd like you to consider the following questions. Number one, how does this example help us to understand media and culture? In other words, how does the example of a stolen cell phone and the reaction to that incident help us learn something about our relationship between the media that we use to communicate and the belief systems and systems of lived experience that we share. Second question, Imagine something similar happening in a different media environment. How might the example change? In other words, imagine this happening in a pre-internet environment. Would it be possible for people to engage this way around media? And finally, what does the example suggest about the culture in which it happened? Would things have been different if a cell phone were stolen in Korea? I'd like you to take a few minutes to consider each of these questions, discuss, and then I would like each person to choose one of the questions to respond to and send a chat giving your response. This is immensely frustrating. I don't get any indication of anyone else. Okay. Okay, the chat works. I was hoping. Hmm? Good. That's okay. Kids will like a cake. Maybe I'll do something with this one there. And then you. I'm teaching her.
이거 어떻게 넘기지? 뭐야, 왜?
Okay, hello everybody. Again, my apologies for the computer malfunction. Took me a few minutes to get my computer up after it shut down. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about my teaching method. When I lecture in front of a class, I'm very interactive. I feel personally that the best way for people to learn is to really be engaged in what they're learning, to ask questions, to discuss, to engage. I turned the volume down again. Okay. Okay, I've turned the microphone up. Please let me know if that continues to be a problem. I feel interactivity is very important with learning, and I design my lectures with lots of interactivity, lots of questions. I realized while I was putting my lecture together that because we're in a different environment here than I'm used to, my method of teaching may have to shift a little bit. I'm going to start off with what we're doing here, trying to be as interactive as possible, trying to get you engaged in discussions. Partly this is to help you, partly this is to help you learn better, but it's also to help me when I'm teaching, when I'm discussing things with students. I need to have feedback. I need to understand what it is that you're understanding. Usually with a class, I'm watching all the time. I'm watching the students because it's clear to me when students look confused or when they look like they're understanding something. I watch to make sure that they're engaged, that they seem to be connecting with what I'm saying. I watch for confusion, for understanding, and I watch and listen in order to learn from students. When I teach, I'm sharing what I know, but I hope to get things back that help me better understand the things that we're learning. And so I hope you weren't taken by surprise that I opened my presentation with a series of questions, and not easy questions either. The questions that I ask you there are potentially very complex. Okay. I will do a little bit of lecturing right now, and then we'll move on to the Clay Shirky video. When we're watching the Clay Shirky video, I'll give you some instructions on how to listen to that video, how to get something out of it. But I don't want to lose the idea of discussion here. So I'm not really sure, because my computer crashed. I did see one chat reply to the questions that I had posed. Thank you very much. But I didn't see others. Perhaps everybody else responded as well. But I'm going to go on beyond that right now, and then hopefully we'll find some ways to pick up on the discussion. I will encourage you, please, to use the chat channel in order to make comments or ask questions, and also from time to time to use the video. for that purpose. Okay, I want to make a few comments myself on the example of the stolen cell phone. I believe the point to the story, and a few people, I've seen a few people, different people talk about this story. I think the point to the story for many people is that the new technologies that we have, new media technologies that allow people to interact with people on the other side of the world, that allow us to find out information about other people, that allow us to track tools online, that those tools enable people to engage in a way, in this specific example, allow us to engage in ways that previously we would not have been able to do. 20 years ago, if I had had a telephone stolen, it would have been somebody coming into my house and stealing the telephone out of my house. And I would have had very little recourse in comparison to the people in this example to tracking down the person who stole it. To me, this example, one of the significant cultural issues of this example is the idea of justice. When we hear this example, nobody needs to tell us the importance of personal property. And nobody needs to tell us that somebody is in the right when they try to recover their personal property. Property is a key legal and cultural issue for many people, and in this case, particularly in the United States. I won't belabor that point, but I think that one of the key cultural issues in this story has to do with with Americans' relationship to personal property and the sense of having the right to use media to recover personal property. I'm very curious myself, and as we proceed through this course, I'll be watching. I'll be hoping to learn things in this area. I'm curious myself about how this example may be different potentially, or the same in Korea. I'm very interested to learn. I'll be very interested to learn something about the experience of media and culture in Korea, and whether that experience helps us think differently about media technologies or about cultural interactions through technology. Okay, mass communication. Mass communication is a term that we need to understand. It's one of our definitional terms for the chapter. Mass communication, tell me, using the chat line. Yes, Young. Did I see your opinion? I see that the chat has just appeared for me. I think Ken put it up. Let me see if I can look through. No. No, I have not seen your opinions about my question. And um, here's what I would like to do right now. Can you turn on a camera? Okay, there you go. Likewise, Ava said it improves social media, can make positive effect. People tend to gather, tend to gather power when hunting. Ah, yes. Yeah, it was the disconnection that we lost the written comments. Thank you, Kim. Okay, so I see now that Young has posted the opinion, the comment that social media can have a positive effect. People tend to gather their power when hunting one target. Actually, I think that's a really interesting point. Tell me, when you say people tend to gather their power when hunting one target, do you mean like a mob mentality? You mean like people start to attack excessively? How do you mean that? Would it be easier for you to discuss using the audio line and the camera? Okay, we'll chat. Maybe since I'm on the audio line, I'll just keep using the audio line and chat a little bit. Okay, okay, I understand, Kim. Okay. Okay, I like the example that you give of a witch hunt because this is an example that resonates very clearly in U.S. history. We have lots of examples in our history of what we call witch hunts, situations where many people gather together and they feel they're right and just, but they end up attacking other people. Is that what you mean to convey when you talk about a witch hunt? It's certainly been reported as a, when you say positive case, I mean, I take it that you mean there's clear proof that somebody stole the phone, and it sounds like that's the case from the way the example has been reported. However, in the United States, at least, we have a tradition of saying that people are innocent until they're proven guilty. This may be an example of a situation where somebody may or may not be guilty in fact, in any legal sense, and yet they've been branded and harassed and publicly humiliated. So I read a different article, and I wasn't able to find it. I wasn't able to find it for this class, but I read an article some months ago about this same case, which pointed out it pointed out that number one, that the girl who owns the phone, the girl who lost the phone, we don't know her identity. We don't learn who she is. Her name is held secret, almost protected, whereas the names of the other people in the case are very widely discussed. The other thing that this article that I read brought up was that there was a strong sense of class morality in this case. The girl who presumably took the phone was of a different social class, lower social class, than the girl who lost the phone and her friend. What it doesn't tell us in the example that we read is that the girl had help not just of strangers on the internet, but she also had connections with people, her family, and people who had connections to police resources, and that police were actually dispatched in this case to help look for the phone. Now, this became a question of some discussion in media, whether it was appropriate or not in a case which amounted to petty theft for somebody to use their influence to use police resources to run around looking for this missing cell phone when there was much more serious business for the police to take care of. That doesn't show up in this discussion, but it is something that has been raised by other people in this case. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you for your comments. I hope we'll have opportunity to do a bit more of this chatting, but let me go on now a little bit, unless there are other things you want to say at the moment. Let me go into a little bit into our definitions. Okay, so mass communication is communication transmitted to large segments of the population. Communication. Now, here's something I really don't like about, we use this definition from the book, but it does something that I don't like, and that's it uses, in the definition of the term, it uses one of the words from the term itself. We're trying to define mass communication, and the definition that we're given is communication transmitted to large segments of the population. It's a very bad practice to repeat that word communication in the definition when we're trying to define mass communication. It leaves us with sort of a blank feeling, an unsettled feeling about what is it we're talking about. We assume everybody knows what communication means. All right, let me ask you a question so we can dig at this a little bit. Now, the question that I ask on the slide here is, what is communication? I'd like you first to address that question. Try to tell me, using synonyms, using brief phrases, try to tell me when somebody says communication to you, what does that mean? What is communication? Okay, good. Sharing with each other. Sharing what? Okay, sharing people's thoughts, sharing what people think. Good. Good. Process for finding a common thing. What might that be? Is it like finding a common pen? What kind of a thing do we find? Good. Sharing each other's values. Talk between people. Dissemination. Okay, coming closer, helping with making consensus. Great. Okay, good. One thing I like to point out for people, communication, the root for communication is shared with many words. You've used the word here, common. Has somebody used the word common thing? Community. Community is a word that I like to compare to communication. Community is a group of people who share something, share experiences, share culture, families. Community can mean many different things. Communication is, for me, is the thing that bonds people together. What are some of the ways that we communicate with people? You've mentioned talking. What other ways might we communicate? Good, okay, like we're doing now. You can use an online messenger, a chat system. Excellent, facial expressions. Body language, good. One of the things I observe is I'm used to, yes, through media. Okay, so we're communicating right now in this channel. We're communicating through media. You can see my face, you can hear my voice. I can see the text messages that you're sending through the chat. We're communicating through media that extend. Now, the book talked a bit about a man named Marshall McLuhan. Marshall McLuhan described media as extensions of human beings. He described the radio as an extension of the ear. He described print media as extension of the eye. Photography, different kinds of media extend our senses. Clothing, he described clothing also as a kind of medium, and he saw clothing as an extension of the skin. We communicate through clothing. The way we dress says something. Sometimes it's something we say intentionally, sometimes it's something we say unintentionally. Okay, so I think we have a good sense here of the scope of communication. We communicate in many different ways. Some of those are direct and face-to-face. Some of them happen through media. When communication happens through media, some things about the communication are enhanced, are made better. So, for example, we're communicating through media here that allow me in Toronto to be speaking to you in Korea. Limitation, I can't see you. I can't hear you. I don't know, I don't have those cues to use to understand what's happening with the communication. I don't have those cues to allow me to get a sense of where communication is working, where the message that I'm trying to get across to you is succeeding, and where it's not succeeding. The chat is helping, though. Okay. Another word in this definition, transmitted. In this case, what do you think it means in this definition when it says communication is transmitted? Okay, sending something. What do you think we're sending? Sending information, okay? Good. Okay, giving people useful ideas, sending opinion. Good. Okay, good, sending your ideas. Intention. Tell me what you mean. I'm sorry, I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce it, Gionga. Tell me what you mean by intention. Sending intention? Okay, to intend something, meaning to have a purpose, to have, okay, so when you say communication transmitted, you mean you have some purpose for your message. Okay. Now tell me something. We talked about when you were sharing your ideas about communication, I had the sense in sharing the ideas of communication that many of you were emphasizing shared understanding, reaching meaning together. In other words, back and forth, give and take is very important in communication. And I had a sense as I was reading your chats, I had a sense that that idea was coming through very clearly. Is that something that is consistent, that fits with the idea of transmitting? There's my question. Is communication, is it something that fits easily with the idea of transmitting, shipping? All right, maybe I'll let you just keep that question in mind as we're talking, as we're going through our ideas today. Okay, next slide. Mass media. This is another very important idea. We have to be clear on its meaning. First thing, media is a plural word. When we say media, we're talking about more than one. When we say medium, that's singular. We're talking about one. So in this case, a medium is an instrument or means of transmission. The medium is the thing that sends our communication, our ideas, our message. When we talk about mass media, we're talking about multiple instruments or means of transmission. Mass media are the instruments or means of transmission that are designed to reach large audiences. Okay, very quickly, chat me back just some examples of mass media. What are some of the instruments that are used to reach large audiences of people, to send messages to large audiences of people? Okay, Facebook, television, yes. SMS, uh-huh. Okay, radio, mobile phone, internet, newspapers, good. Newspapers, good. Okay, good. Okay, so we've got lots of different tools that are available to us now. when we watch the Shirky video, he'll give us, in 15 minutes, he'll give us some very good ways to think about these tools and how they, what they do for us when we're using them. So I'd like you now to watch the video by Clay Shirky. Actually, before we turn to that, Kim, I'm relying on you right now about the schedule for the class. I remember last week that you wanted to take a break at a certain point. Tell me, this video is 15 minutes, almost 16 minutes long. Shall we watch it now and discuss it, or do you want to have a break first, or how shall we do it? I'm sorry, I'm Sun Yan. Okay, watch the video now or take a break now? Okay, tell me how long a break you want to take, and then we'll come back and watch the video after the break. Okay, so 10-minute break, then when we're back, we'll watch the video. Okay. I have 17 minutes after the hour right now, so I'll be back here at 27 after. Thank you very much. Enjoy your break. Okay, thank you. I was just sending a text to ask you to let me know when you were ready. Okay, let me briefly introduce this video. Clay Shirky is a professor at NYU, New York University. It's a fairly well-known university in New York City. He's very interested in the internet, in how people are using the internet to change their world. He's not only interested in the internet, but he's very interested in how people use media to change their world. And like many other people, he's observed that the internet is a medium that has done an enormous amount to open opportunities for people to change their world. So the video that I'm going to have you watch is one in which he, I think the most important thing that I want you to focus on in this video is what he tells us about the history of media and how we use media. He has ways of characterizing media that are helpful for us in understanding what media do for us, what we can do with media. And those concepts that he uses also help a great deal in, I think, in understanding the changes, the massive changes that have occurred in the last 25 or 30 years in media with the development of the internet and well, that's the big one. So, as you watch this video, I ask you please take notes, be active viewers, have a pen in your hand. Every time I watch this, every time I've watched this video many times with classes, and every time I watch it, I keep a pen in my hand because every time I watch it, something different catches my attention, or I'm reminded of something that already caught my attention but I hadn't thought of before, or I think of it a different way. And it's very helpful. Have a pen, take some notes on your computer, however it is that you can best keep track of information. Take notes, be active viewers, be active listeners. Keep track of the ideas that occur to you. Jot them down. Okay, I'll have you watch this. I haven't been able successfully to download a copy to upload into our system. So please it'll take about 16 minutes. I'll ask you please watch it. I'm going to watch it here again myself, and then when it's done, I'll come back and see you again. Okay? Okay, thank you. Go ahead and watch.
there might be voter suppression. And so a plan came up to video the vote. And the idea was that individual citizens with phones capable of taking photos, making video, would document their polling places on the lookout for any kind of voter suppression techniques, and would upload this to a central place. And that this would operate as a kind of citizen observation, that citizens would not be there just to cast individual votes, but also to help ensure the sanctity of the vote overall. Right? So this is a pattern that assumes we're all in this together. What matters here isn't technical capital, it's social capital. These tools don't get socially interesting until they get technologically boring. It isn't when the shiny new tools show up that their uses start permeating society. It's when everybody is able to take them for granted. Because now that media is increasingly social, innovation can happen anywhere, also to help ensure the sanctity of the vote overall. Right? So this is a pattern that assumes we're all in this together. What matters here isn't technical capital, it's social capital. These tools don't get socially interesting until they get technologically boring. It isn't isn't when the shiny new tools show up that their uses start permeating society. It's when everybody is able to take them for granted. Because now that media is increasingly social, innovation can happen anywhere that people can take for granted the idea that we're all in this together. And so we're starting to see a media landscape in which innovation is happening everywhere and moving from one spot to another. That is a huge transformation. Not to put too fine a point on it, the moment we're living in, the moment our historical generation is living in, is the largest increase in expressive capability in human history. That's a big claim. I'm going to try and back it up. There are only 4 periods in the last 500 years where media has changed enough to qualify for the label revolution. The first one is the famous one, the printing press. Movable type, oil-based inks, that whole complex of innovations that made printing possible and turned Europe upside down, starting in the middle of the book. Then, a couple of hundred years ago, there was innovation in two-way communication, conversational media. First the telegraph, then the telephone. Slow, text-based conversations, then real-time voice-based. Then about 150 years ago, there was a revolution in recorded media other than print. First photos, then recorded sound, then movies, all encoded in digital files. And finally, about 100 years ago, the harnessing of electromagnetic spectrum to send sound and images through the air, radio and television. This is the media landscape as we knew it in the 20th century. This is what those of us of a certain age grew up with and are used to. But there's a curious asymmetry here. The media that's good at creating conversations is no good at creating groups. And the media that's good at creating groups is no good at creating conversations. If you want to have a conversation in this world, you have it with one other person. If you want to address a group, you get the same message and you give it to everybody in the group, whether you're doing that with a broadcasting tower or a printing press. That was the media landscape we make best.
Okay, so as I said, I like this video because I think Shirky does a very good job of presenting a vision of the what he calls the transformed media environment that helps us to understand what's really going on. And the reason that that the way he presents it helps us understand what's going on is that his focus is on what's changed in what we do with media, not what we see, not what we hear, but what we do and why that matters. So tell me, what struck you? What stood out for you in this video? and tell me something about it that either caught in your mind or that raised question for you. Okay, Min-Seok, you say the role of social media in our lives. First question, are there media that aren't social? And when we use the phrase social media, what is it that makes social media so social? Why is it that we don't think of other media that came before as social media? Good, okay. Many-to-many connections. What else? Okay, Young, by mass media getting strong, they can give us both good effects and bad effects. Any examples? Okay, good. Bad effect is interference in private life, invasion of privacy. Okay, so I've, okay. Okay, I have here, some of you may not be so familiar with this object if you're like my students in Almaty. I have here a newspaper. Copy of the Toronto Star. Oh, I'm sorry, I have a question from Young. You're sorry, what is creating a group? Okay, excellent question. I'm glad you asked. Okay, I'll use this example to give a sense of what Shirky means when he talks about media being good for creating groups. Think about a newspaper. This newspaper comes printed on paper. Once it's printed, it doesn't change. At least there's no more new information put into the paper unless I take a pen and write it in myself. There are thousands and thousands of copies of this newspaper printed up in a factory and sent out all around Toronto, all around the province of Ontario, and across Canada. It provides information to us. The news section provides information about important news. I read through the paper every day. This paper gets delivered downstairs in my apartment building, and I pick it up, I bring it home, and I spend at least 45 minutes looking at the paper each day. I have a friend. I have children. I'm sorry, I let my head get out of the range of the camera. I have a friend who is like me as a parent of small children. I drop them off at school. He and I often talk about things we've read in the newspaper. The way that a newspaper is good at creating groups is by providing a common source of information, a common sense of what's important to us, what matters, what do we need to know, what's entertaining, what's engaging, who do we care about. As you read through chapter 1, you got a sense of media and media's relationship to culture. The formation of groups is an important aspect of culture. And in mediated culture, mass-mediated culture, by which we mean media that, or cultures that are largely heavily influenced by media, in those cultures, media play a crucial role in helping us understand who we are, in helping us understand the place we live, in helping us understand the world around us. It's that common information, common shared source of information that helps to create groups. It helps to create a sense of group identity. It helps to create a sense of solidarity. Now, when Duhee started talking about public opinion, for many people, public opinion is something, for many people, public opinion is something that is developed through shared sources of information and through a process of developing a shared sense of ideas, shared sense of beliefs. Okay, I don't want to belabor this point too much, but newspapers, as an example, they're a medium that the newspaper is a medium that is good for creating groups because it gives us a common source of information that is delivered to many thousands of people, gives all those people who may never meet one another a shared cultural background. Okay. Compare this to the telephone. Okay, good, got it. That's what creating a group is. Okay, good, thank you, Young. Okay, let's compare this to another medium that Shirky talked about, 20th century media. Clay Shirky mentioned the telephone. Now, one of the things about the telephone you're used to using now, mobile telephones, don't work the same way as the telephones that Clay Shirky is talking about. In other words, most of you, I expect, probably have telephones that connect to the internet, that allow you to send text messages to one person or to many people. They may allow you to get onto Skype and onto different programs that allow you to talk to one person or to many people all at once. Okay, this is not the telephone that Shirky is talking about. The telephone that Shirky is talking about is the old-fashioned, in the home, wired to the wall telephone. It doesn't have any connection to the internet. It doesn't have any visual aids. All you do is you dial a number, and somebody picks up the phone on the other end of the line, and you talk to them. Right? What do you think? Is this a medium that's good for creating groups, or a medium that's good for conversations, and why? Okay, only good for conversation. Good. Why does that matter to us? One try. Okay. Shirky gives us a sense of understanding the media of the 20th century. Print media, telephone and telegraph, recorded media other than print media, by which he means things like phonograph records, motion pictures, photographs, and broadcast media like television and radio. Those are the four big areas of media of the 20th century, mass media, that he's talked about. He uses the focus on creation of groups and enabling of conversations as a way to distinguish between those media. They're different, they're separate. In the 20th century environment, each of those media was completely separated. What's happened now in the 21st century? Are our media separated now? Okay. Okay, Ken. Sorry. I let my time get away from me. Okay. Ken will take over for the last 30 minutes to go over the syllabus. Let me say briefly, I'll apologize briefly for technical difficulties and also for taking some time to get through the slides. I see I'm up to slide 4 of 19. What I would ask you to do, please, review the slides that are the remaining slides for this presentation. There are a couple of links to videos. These ones are short, and I'd like you to watch those videos as well. I'll post a message to the Facebook group as a follow-up to this. When we meet next week for my portion, I'll start by just reviewing very quickly the remaining material for these slides. I'll do that very quickly. It's not, yeah. You should please be ready with any questions you have, and then we'll proceed on to the next chapter. So thank you very much for your attention. It's quite late here. I will probably hang on the line a little bit while Ken does his review, but I may sign off before he's done. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Frederick. By the way, you also have to hit the little square button underneath your PowerPoint to turn yours off so I can turn mine on. Okay, good. Let me bring this up real quick. I did send a copy of the updated version of this to Kim already in an email just now. But let me bring this up, and let me see, where are we? Okay, this will take a couple of minutes here to upload. It didn't take too long. It looks like it's converting it fairly quickly here. For those of you who were here last week, would you please, well, first off, would everybody go ahead and type and give us your email address? So everybody, including those that were here last year, would everybody please just type into the text chat area your email address so that we can contact you individually when necessary? Okay, while you're doing that, and I'm going to skip forward here to some updates in the syllabus, and also review some aspects for those that are new to the class. This is the basis on which you will be graded. I'm going to put my glasses so I can see better myself. So 10% of your class will be, your course grade will be based on your interaction with me on Facebook. This is my Facebook site. If you don't have a Facebook account, then you will have to create one so that you can interact with me on this Facebook site. Every week, including this last week, I will post a question for you to discuss, and I need you to respond with some text within Facebook, some thoughts in response to that question. Secondly, each of you will have 2 presentations to make. You will be using your webcam, just like Frederick was doing, and I can't remember, somebody also, Minsuk, perhaps it was earlier, had his camera on. This is not hard to do, and we will help guide you through this. When you gain, we will give you moderator powers at the time, so you can upload your presentation, or if you prefer, you can just email us your presentation and we can have it uploaded for you. But again, this is not difficult. Your presentations, as I mentioned last week, are expected to be at least 15 minutes, but no more than 30 minutes. Basically the expectation is about 20 minutes. As part of your presentation, you will create 3 multiple choice questions. Those questions will be part of a pool of questions that may be used in the final exam. So think real hard about what sort of questions you would like to prepare for. You will be given, as you prepare your questions, you will also provide the answers, by the way. All these students will then have access to all of these questions and all of their answers in preparing for that final exam. We won't be using all the questions. They will, like I suggested earlier, they will be part of a pool of questions, and we'll select a certain number of them, maybe 40 questions from Frederick's presentations, from my presentations, and from the student presentations for the final exam. So there may be 100 questions or 120 questions altogether possible, and we'll choose 40 of those for the final exam. So that's part of your assignment as part of your presentation. We'll come back to that and have you select chapters in a few seconds. You also have 3, well, it says individual creative assignments, although the second one actually will be a team project, and we'll review that in a few seconds also. And then I already talked about the final exam. You are helping prepare the final exam by preparing questions as part of your PowerPoint presentations. Any questions on this? At any point, if you have questions, please type them into the text chat area, and I'll address them as quickly as I can. Okay, we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to proceed forward unless I see that you have a question. I see this is cut off a little bit at the bottom, although perhaps you can see it better than I can because I have a little control panel that I to go forwards and backwards. So it may just be cutting off part of it. You may be able to see it all fine. Okay, so we're already past week 1. Week 2, we've reviewed chapter 1. Next week, at some point, we have to catch up. So I don't know whether we're going to get caught up, whether Frederick's going to get caught up with, at some point he has to do 2 chapters in 1 week. Whether that's next week or not, I'm not absolutely sure, but he will at least do chapter 2. And I would like 2 student presentations by then. I think it was Minsuk, if I remember correctly, already offered to do chapter 1, or somebody did that was here last week. We had nobody yet volunteer to do chapter 2, although the books chapter is a fairly easy one, I would think. As I mentioned last week, as you do your presentations, by the way, you're doing presentations on the same chapters that Frederick is doing presentations. Of course, as you see, he doesn't go just piece by piece through the chapter. He's bringing in new material as well. And you yourselves can also bring in new material. As I suggested last week, I would hope that to some degree you can localize your presentations and include some material about Korea and Asia in general as it relates to these different subjects. So if you can add a little bit additional information, that would be worth some extra points for you. I think I'll go ahead. I think that covers everything in that part. So you see what's happening in weeks 1, 2, and 3. 1 already done, and 2 now is almost done. So next week, I don't know that we can get all 4 presentations. Again, if the student presentations are 20 minutes, then that really doesn't take too long. I may not have much time to talk, but anyway, we can possibly get done and get caught up at this point. If not, some will have to be just pushed forward until the next week. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on all of this, except to note here then, in week 6, we will have your first creative assignment due, and I will review what that assignment will be in just a second. Okay. And just going ahead, just looking at the changes in this, I have sent, as I said, an updated version of this to Kim to distribute to you of the entire syllabus. Week 10, in May, the second creative assignment will be due, and that is a team project, and I'll review that again in just a second. And then at the end of May, again, you can hand in your assignments ahead of time. You may want to hand in your third creative assignment in week 13 so that you can focus on preparing for the exam in week 14, but that'll be your choice. It's not technically due until week 14. I also sent Kim today a copy of the presentation critique sheet or evaluation sheet. I'm not going to go over this in detail right now, other than just to mention about 25% will be on your visual aids, in other words, your PowerPoint, including the questions that you prepare for the PowerPoint. Again, about 25% will be based on the content. This might be where you're adding some content from Korea might be included and might affect your points in this section. Also, let me note and emphasize that you're not expected to cover the entire chapter that you select. You are expected to take what you think are the most interesting aspects to it and present just that portion of the chapter. So absolutely do not think you have to cover an entire chapter. To do so, you'd be rushing through and it'd actually be rather boring to us. The more you try to cover, probably the more boring it would be. So you really want to cover less material. Do not try to cover the entire book or entire chapter. Cover that portion that you can present well and do it well. That will be most important for your grade, is to present well, not how much you present, but how well you present it. So select out of your assigned chapter what you think would be most interesting and valuable to the class. And then how you present it is worth about 25%. And so how do you emphasize important parts? Do you respond to questions? Do you invite questions? Do you present with enthusiasm and help energize? Do you make a good presentation, a good conclusion? These are aspects of delivery and worth 25%. And actually, probably you're adding material from Asia and Korea specifically would probably mostly be coming this last part. First off, are you on time? Is it too short? Is it too long? Again, I'm giving you quite a range, 15 to 30 minutes, ideally around 20 minutes. You will not be penalized for being anywhere in that range, 15 to 30 minutes. But this is where kind of the extra effort. It says, did the presentation use sources beyond those required, if helpful? So this is where primarily you get points for adding material from Korea and Asia in general. Any questions on this before I go on to the next part? Okay, so these are the chapters. I know some of you chose chapters last week, and frankly, I did not save the text chat last week. I got thinking about something else, and I think my computer froze up also, or something happened where I had to turn off, or I did turn off. Whether I had to or not, I don't remember. But anyway, the hot conference with this system was turned off. Kim, if you could go ahead and just type those in, or if the students could, whatever, because then we need the other students to choose their chapters. So we need them to know what chapters are still available. If there's 8 students, then it's going to come out exactly even. We have 16 chapters and 8 students. Okay. So once we are reminded as to which chapters are already selected, then the rest of you who have just joined us today need to choose 2 chapters. And it's first come, first served. We can only have 1 person per chapter. So as you see, Min-suk had chapters 1 and 16. Jeonga had 8 and 12. Young had 6 and 11. Let's go ahead and make your selection now. As I said, first come, first served. Whatever comes up on the text chat area, that we will reserve for those students. Somebody needs to do chapter 2, and hopefully somebody will be, as I said earlier with Min-suk, chapters 1 and 2 I'll be a little bit easy on you on that. I'll be grading a little bit easier because you're the first guinea pig, so to speak. So I'll give you points for being courageous. So whoever wants to choose chapter 2 will get some bonus points just for being willing to do that. Okay, be sure not to duplicate somebody else. Let me see here. Yes, Young already had chapter 11. Okay. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, go ahead, and those that have not yet selected, go ahead and select your chapters. Somebody's going to get stuck with chapter 2, whether you want to be or not, but I will be kind. If you can accommodate us and get that done. If necessary, maybe the chapter 2 presentation could be pushed forward to the next week. I wouldn't mind that. If somebody prefers to do that, I'll give you the choice. You can present next week, but as I said, if Frederick covers 2 chapters, it may be hard to include everything anyway. So while you are finalizing that, okay, make sure there's no duplications. Okay, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops. Let me see. Well, you you cannot have 16 because that's already done, and I think 11 is already selected. So look up in your text chat to see what other people have already selected. And somebody will end up being stuck with 2. Let's see, one Jai. Let's see, you have 5, 9, and then you have 5, 7. Let's see, where are we? Okay, yes, 9 is previously selected, so 5, 7 would be appropriate. Looks like that would be okay. I think if everybody's put something down, then I think Duhee will end up with, I'm sorry, chapter 2. That doesn't, that kind of hurts because 2 and 3, although you could actually do them the next week and do them both together, or you could do one next week and the one after. Okay. Like I say, you have the choice, Duhee, whether or not to do chapter 2 next week or whether to do both 2 and 3 the following week. That's up to you. Okay, good. I will make a copy of that. Going on then, I wanted to talk about the projects. Project 1, again, you'll have to look back in the syllabus. We can look back to remind ourselves with that week 4 or 5, I can't remember. I think it was week 5, and that's due. Project 1 is simply a short essay. It's not real difficult as far as number of words, only 200 words, basically 1 page. You can go over a little bit if you want to, but try to get at least 200 words. And it's about about how you think the media, including online media, will affect your life over the next 60 years. In other words, I'm expecting you to, in some ways, kind of project and forecast what the media will be like in the next 60 years. That's kind of challenging because while we're seeing massive changes right now, it's difficult to think, what will it be like? Will your computer be part of your, maybe you wear some glasses, or will it be even embedded into your head, for heaven's sake? You might have a little connection to your directly into your brain. There are some people suggesting that could be very possible in the next 60 years. They could actually, some are thinking that you could actually be injected with knowledge, literally injected with knowledge. I don't know what's going to happen. So to some degree, Project 1 is for you to use your imagination and think about where we might be going and how it will affect you. Certainly the changes that are occurring in this century are so dramatic. I mean, I would say that Clay Shirky was, well, like I said, there are certain times of revolution, and this is certainly a time of revolution, and a revolution that's so dramatic, so total, that it is, like I say, even difficult to imagine where it's going, because the technology is changing so rapidly. So that's your first project, due in, I think, we'll double check in a second, I think is week 5, to just write a 200-word essay, each of you individually, and submit that to us to review and to grade. That'll be worth 10 points. So do it well, use your imagination, and think about this. By the way, this would affect, like I say, not just your consumption of information in general, of news, also education, and affect many aspects of life as you think about it. Project 2 would be a team project. And this is a video project. I presume you have access to Movie Maker or other software for creating videos. We'd only form 2 teams so that there'd be 4 people in each team, and I presume that some of you will have more experience in working with video than others. But this is not a difficult video. Most of this will, in Movie Maker, you can import graphics, and including PowerPoints. If you go to the Save As function, you can save as all of your slides, and slide in PowerPoint can be saved as TIFFs or JPEGs. And so all of you are, since you're doing presentations, basically your team, your 4-person team, can take a look at all your presentations and decide to take out some of the slides in several of your presentations, at least 3 chapters of the textbook, and create out of that a 15-minute video. So you're kind of maybe summarizing or reviewing a portion of 3 different chapters, in portions that you think are interesting and important. And you're going to create a 15-minute video of those. So the real key is it will be primarily made up of slides from your PowerPoints and narration. Out of your team, you can choose the person you think can maybe has the clearest, the best English narration, and can use. I'm suggesting Audacity, although you can use other programs as well. But Audacity is a free software that can be downloaded and used to create the narration, which can then be imported into Movie Maker or another video software. And so you can combine the TIFFs or from PowerPoint and a narration from Audacity, and that will be most of your presentation. That will be most of your video. If you choose, you can do some real video. You can take a movie camera or your cell phone and have somebody introduce it. You know, have maybe a 30-second real video introduction, and maybe a real video conclusion, and maybe a couple of real video clips in between if you choose to. But again, that is not required. All that is required is the minimum is to use some of the slides from your PowerPoint with some audio narration and put together, like I say, a 15-minute video about the most important parts of at least 3 chapters of the textbook that you've been covering. Then Project 3, I think, I want to see how you do with Project 2, but if you feel good about it, I would like Project 3 to be your own video. In other words, each of you do your own video, only 5 minutes, and it would just be kind of coming back to Project 1 and reflecting again on how you think the media will affect you in the future. You have a chance to have discussed it with us during the semester and hear our ideas, and then this one I'm only expecting you to use graphics from a PowerPoint that you would create for this purpose, and your own audio narration, and no real video is required. So this, I think, is Project 3, as long as everybody feels like they can handle that okay. I think once you've gone through Project 2, you will be able to, and I will give you some instruction myself. Okay, and I believe that's the last slide. Let me see if there's another one. I don't think there is. No, that's it, 11 of 11. Okay, any questions? So this is basically how you will. I'm going to go backwards a little bit here, double check. When things are due. So your third, okay, I skipped over one apparently. Your third assignment is technically due in the last week, same as the final exam, but can be handed in sooner. Your second one is your team video project will be due in week 10. And again, we'll talk about this more. And I gave you an example, one that I created that you can take a look at. And your first one, these 200 words, will be due in week 6. So not quite as soon as I thought. So week 6, your first creative assignment, just those 200 words, will be due. Yes, I did do that. I've already sent them to you, Kim. You have the new syllabus, you have the new PowerPoint slides, and the critique, the presentation evaluation sheet. I just emailed you during Frederick's presentation. Okay, if there's no other questions, I see we are out of time. And thank you, and we will see you again next week. And I will make a copy of all this text chat today before I sign off. Again, thank you a lot. I hope you find this course interesting during this semester. Goodbye, everyone.